Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about the most common attributes when styling text and lists in CSS, and we'll also look at loading external fonts using Adobe Creative Cloud. Okay, so we have a simple setup here with a link to our style sheet, a heading, and a paragraph, and a couple of lists. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give everything a little margin so that it's a little easier to look at. And if we remember, when there's two parameters for margin, the first one is the top and bottom, and the second one is the side to side. Okay, next up, let's look at H1. So we've been doing a few of these already. For example, color determines the text color. And for this, we're going to do a new parameter. I'll talk a little bit more about color in a future video, but this is the one I prefer: hue, saturation, lightness. The first parameter is where it is on the color wheel. The second parameter is the amount of saturation. And the third color is the relative lightness. And okay, I had an extra space in there. So what I can do here is we can make it brighter and more saturated, and then over here controls the hue. Nice. Blue color. Okay, and we've also seen font size, and that is pretty straightforward. And now it's 45 pixels. Okay, so the first thing is we can add breaks to our text with a special character, and we'll do this in our HTML called the break character, and it is BR, like that. So this is another one of those self-closing tags. You might see self-closing tags like this as well, and some developers prefer to do it this way because you can kind of see the beginning and the end. I think I'm kind of coming around to that syntax. But anyway, now it's on 2 lines. So then next, we have line height. Line height is similar to leading. And so if I do this, I can adjust the leading of my text. So leading and then tracking is similar to letter spacing. So for this one, we'll do so if you remember, larger text you tend to track in, bigger text you tend to track out. Less. I don't want to get pickety here, but a little less on the line height. Okay, then what else? We also have what is called font family. Font family is where we pick our fonts. However, because this is on the internet and not on your own computer, this gets a little bit more complicated. And we can kind of see here what the issue is. So what these are called is font stacks. And how it works is it's a list of typefaces that are common, and this is really handy about using VS Code, on everybody's computer. right? Like you might have some cool typeface that you've purchased, but chances are somebody else doesn't have it on their computer. So these are common typefaces that are available on most operating systems. And what they have here is like, we prefer this. If that doesn't work, then do courier. And then if that doesn't work, find any monospace type on the computer. And same for this. So we prefer Georgia, but Times New Roman would be our next choice, then Times, then serif. Okay, so that's our font stack. We can actually load our own typefaces, but that's another step. So we have size, line heights, letter spaces tracking, font family is font choice, and we have to kind of consider what fonts are available on people's computers and have fallback options. Next, let's look at the paragraph for a sec. And if I want to set this family for my whole document, I can put it up here. So next thing we'll look at is we'll do the line height for our paragraph. Okay. Okay, so the next question is, if I add another paragraph, here, where is the space coming from? So this is almost like there's an extra line break under here. And then where is this space coming from? It's not in our HTML, and we didn't declare it here. And this is another instance of there's default styling in the browser that is needed so that you can see what's happening and your HTML works. But as we seek to have more and more customization over how things look, it starts to become an issue. So if we want to control this space over here and the space over there and the space over there, and even the indents of this list, we have to clear some of that default styling out. And so this is a kind of bigger topic, but to get the ball rolling, what we can do is we can use the star selector. And what the star selector says is select every element in our HTML file and apply these settings. It's really handy. So now if I say margin 0, now the spaces have disappeared. The indent for the list is still there, but these spaces have disappeared. And that is what we're looking for. So then to control the space after our text, one handy way to do this is to have the padding bottom control that. So we, oh shoot, not on the pad. We don't want it there. Sorry. And then if we wanted to have a line break after each line height, we could do this. We can match first. So next, let's bring over some fonts from Adobe Fonts. And of course, you need a Creative Cloud account and all that, but you should have that as students of the school. So Adobe Fonts, go over here. So we're going to just pick something crazy just so I can see that this is working. Not going to be fussy. Here we go. Black letter. Okay. So what we need to do here is we can go here, sign in. we can make a new project or add it to an existing project. So you can make a new project. I have one already for this class. And then it tells you right what to do. To use these fonts on a web page, copy this code into the HTML tag of your document. Let's do that. I'm going to put it before my style sheet. And then to use the font, copy this code. And I'm gonna just put it in my H1 because it's gonna be like hard to look at. And there we go. Amazing. We notice now that there's font family, but it also has these other attributes. So it's weight, which is like bold, regular. Another way to write that is this numeric value. And then the style, which is, well, here, let's see what the options are. So one thing that's, VS Code is so great. You can, whenever you're kind of curious about something, you can just roll over and learn about that parameter, right? Right from kind of the official documentation. And I've been doing this for a while now, and these tools are pretty sweet. Anyway, so now we have a font, right? And so all we have to do is add it to our project on Creative Cloud, put in the style sheet, and then put it in our code. Pretty great. We can also do a similar thing with Google Fonts. So let's find a Google font. Let's do, I like DM. DM Sans is a nice one. And to get this to work, we're going to go to this Get Font, get our embed code, and copy. It's over here. And then we'll grab this. And put it here. There we go. So we have a custom Adobe font, a custom Google font. Okay, so then last but not least, let's talk about lists. So if you remember, there's unordered list, apple, oranges, and cats, and ordered list, first, second, and thirds. So let's do unordered list first. We can do list style type. And what this is going to do is control what we see in the beginning. None is actually a really handy one because when we're building navs and other things, we use lists a lot, and often we don't need the ornament. But there's also circle, just like that, and disk and square and what have you. Here's another situation where, like, if I start completing this code, it shows me all the relevant attributes. And then in our ordered list, we can change, well, okay, so here's one thing. We have our ordered list, but we can use unordered list styling. And you can also use ordered list styling on an unordered list, and it'll work. There's lots of situations like that with CSS where you can kind of break it and it'll work. But you don't want to do that because then the code loses its meaning. So it loses its meaning for yourself when you're looking at it, and it loses its meaning for someone else who's looking at it too. So we don't want to do that. So if we're doing ordered lists, stuff, we want ordered list attributes and vice versa. So for example, we can have lowercase or Roman or what have you. Another cool thing you can do is you can have imagery. You can have an image as opposed to your dots and things. And so if we want, comment that out. Use this URL, point to what we want to load, go over to my folder, grab this. Remember always to put the file type .svg, and now there's little mini mechas. And they're kind of tiny, so if I was to actually do this, I would do this instead, actually. So let me comment that out. I would put the image before the text in the list item. And then it's going to be Gigunda. So then I would style it. Say dot bullet width 12 pixels, let's say. Okay. And I would say this style type. And then I could really kind of fine tune. I could even, I could do margin right, and I could fine tune how far it was from, oops, not here, in my image here. And I can control how it moves away from the text. So you can imagine this would be really handy for navigations, and you can have little arrows and things like that. Okay, so finally, where is this indentation coming from? How do we control that? So to do that, to control the indentation, we use the padding inline start parameter, and we set that to 0 pixels. And we can do the same with our unordered list. And curious, what if I set the box sizing for box? That doesn't change anything. Okay, cool. All right, that's plenty for one video.